Hello! Today we're going to talk about the University of Pacific and their interview process, just to give you all a gist of what to expect and what has been done by the school historically. So before going to the interview, the proper interview process, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which everyone's been writing to us about and asking about, which is the written exercise. So talking about the written exercise, first couple of things for you all to keep in mind is that do not be intimidated by the fact that it's a written exercise and how will you tackle the language or the vocabulary, because know that it's not about the vocabulary, it's not about how fancily you can write, it's about conveying the message across, which is basically what they test in even your say a TOEFL exam, right? So similarly, keep in mind that you need to read the question, know the question and answer to the point. Just because they do have a long essay component in the written exercise, so just because the question is a long essay kind of question, don't beat around the bush and don't just write hollow words for no reason. Try and structure your thoughts and bring them into every line or every paragraph should have substance, and that is what really makes for a good answer. So structure, am I conveying the message across, and am I answering the question in simple words? That will do. So it's about communication rather than the art of English language. So keep that in mind. So going into the specifics of the written exercise, historically the school has been asking the students both long essay kind of questions and also MCQs, which is basically multiple choice questions. So you would have a question and say 4 or more, usually 4 options, out of which you have to choose one. Now long essay question is what I spoke about a little right before, where you need to focus on those elements and write the answer, and that's what is more important is that you get across to them a very genuine answer which really conveys the message would definitely have more value than a very sophisticated looking answer with words that don't really fit, where you're really trying to make an impression rather than you're just making an impression because of what you've written. So don't try too hard, just go with I wouldn't say go with the flow, but just create a structure in your mind and make sure you answer the question like I said before. And moving on, so what kind of questions can you expect? So it's mostly a standard kind of behavioral question, and it can also be situational, or rather a situational / ethical question, but not too detailed ethical usually, but we'd never know, so it doesn't hurt to really prep for detailed ethical questions as well. For instance, during 2020, which was the pandemic year, they asked one question about coping COVID around, and the second one was a little situational with you're put into a scenario and how would you react. So they're trying to understand your behavioral sides at the end of the day. Now moving on to the next part, which are MCQs. I remember that year in the last 2 years 20 questions were asked, and more very straightforward, easy, general questions, aptitude related questions. And the only feedback that we used to get when we asked our students in our network as to how was that test, how were the MCQs, they just say, what, don't have to worry about it, just go ahead and write. It is that easy. So you just have to be present while answering the questions. Make sure you don't just miss out because you're being hasty, running from one MCQ to another. Be focused. Remember, this is the last lap of your of that relay that you've probably been running for a while now, or maybe just started running. So keep your mind in the game, focus on each question and keep answering. You wouldn't need much prep for that. Moving on to the second part, which is the actual interview of your UOP whole process. UOP's interviews have been known, again historically, to be very behavioral, very standard, which means there are those few questions that you always not practice, but you prep and go for, like talking about yourself, or your strengths and weaknesses, how do you manage stress, or questions like that. So basic kind of behavioral questions, which also we have a blog entry on that in case you want to have a comprehensive list of questions. So the basic set of behavioral questions from that is what is usually expected from UOP. So basically what does it translate to, right? How do I prep for so many unexpected things? Have an understanding about your personality, have an understanding about yourself, sit down and think about your experiences, your learnings, and what do you want the school to know, right? That's more important. So sort of process your thoughts and memories that way and learnings, and that is basically all the prep you need, or the way you should prep for such an interview, as opposed to practicing every line. Do not do that, because then you would sound really rehearsed and fake at actual interview. You would mostly be interviewed by 2 people, right? So there's a chance a lot of you all have maybe received this information via email as well, but again, I'm just giving some historic data for your reference. 1 or 2, mostly to a faculty, a current student, and it would go on for say 30 minutes or something. Again, very standard. It could be a little shorter time as well, depending on how you all speak or how you all click. So that's a little about UOP. So I hope this helps you prep for what is awaiting you, say in a week or a little more than that. You've got this, is what I have to say. Break down every component, break down what your worries or your thoughts or your concerns are, and find a solution to each, instead of sort of feeling chaotic about it. And that way you know that you've covered every portion and that you're aware of yourself, and be confident and go ahead and go on. Like I said, this is the final lap, and nothing should stop you. You've put in all your effort, and this is the last step, and you guys can do it. So good luck. Reach out to us if you have any doubts. Ring us or text us. Ring us on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever, whatever works for you, and we'll try and help you. If you want to have a session with one of our coaches, then check our website or call us again. We can figure out what can be done. Make use of your time, and good luck. Okay.